Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another Sunday night Elvis live chat. How is everybody this week? Um, I can see, hi, Stephen Pedersen. I'll just wait until a few more people come online. If you can just say hello on that side. I'm getting my sides mixed up. That side over there. That's where the chat is. GI Blues is on UK TV right now. I didn't know that. I'll have to set it up to record. Hi, Angela. Okay, what does everybody want to speak about this week? Elvis ways. Anybody got any favorite topics they want to mention? Hi, Jan M. Stephen says he met Joe Esposito. Hi, King. How are you doing? Okay, the first thing I want to ask is, did everybody get a chance to hear my Mike Stone interview on YouTube and the podcast? Hi, Ron. Yeah, that's what I'm going to talk about. What did everybody think of the interview? What did everybody think of Mike? All the things he said? I'd be very interested to find out now what you think. I was quite interested in some of the stories he said and his outlook, and just the way he answered, the critics down the years about how he was supposed to have stolen Elvis's wife and all that. Hi, Kevin. He had a very good answer for it, I thought. A lot of people are saying they loved the Mike Stone interview. Yeah, it was a different perspective, definitely a different perspective on what we've been used to. This was only Mike's second interview ever about the topic. He told me there this afternoon on Facebook. I think a lot of people got the impression that he went in there and he grabbed Priscilla from Elvis against her will. She had no say in the matter. But it turns out it was nothing like that whatsoever. Did he lead to Elvis's demise? Probably not. Probably not. I don't think he did anyway. There was a lot of things involved in why Elvis died at 42 the way he did. And for anybody to think that Mike Stone was implicated in that, I think would be completely wrong. It takes two to tango, which is quite correct. I don't think it was all, I won't say anymore, but you're right. It does take two to tango. You can't just point the finger at one person. It was just an amalgam, a mix of all different happenings and feelings and circumstances, a whole mixture of things that just the way it happened. Hi, Arkansas Dave. Good evening to you. Well, David, anybody that took, he's saying that anybody that took Priscilla away from Elvis would have led to Elvis's demise. But I don't think, hi, Naz, T. Naz, good evening to you. I just don't think that the divorce played that much of a, it wasn't that such a big deal in the matter. That's what I'm saying. I don't think for 1 minute that if Elvis and Priscilla hadn't have divorced, he wouldn't have died. There was so much more to Elvis's demise than the divorce. Yeah, I mean, nobody held a gun to Priscilla's head and said, you have to have an affair with Mike and you have to leave Elvis over Mike. It was free will. As Mike said in the interview, if Mike Stone had made Priscilla leave Elvis, dragged her kicking and screaming away from Graceland, then why wasn't he charged with kidnap? So there's a lot of things that you know contributed to Elvis's death. I said last week, he never got over Gladys. He was forever in the spotlight. His lifestyle, he had an image to live up to. He prescription medication abuse or misuse, if you can say that, and all sorts of things like that, and also hereditary problems that he would have got from his mother and father's side. There was heart issues in both the Smith and the Presley sides. So, and again, his diet wasn't that great either. Uh, I just don't think he would have made old bones even if he hadn't been famous. To be honest, that's my own personal opinion about that. He wasn't. He would never have made old bones. He might have made it a little bit longer than 42, but I really don't think he would have made 70 or 80 years of age. I mean, that's just my own personal opinion. Red West said that Elvis was never developed as a person after 21. Well, of course, 21 was when he really made it big. And I don't know whether it sort of had an effect on the way he developed as an adult. It could well have done. I'm not sure. It was Dr. Nick, Jerry Lee Lewis's manager after Elvis died. Um, no, I don't think so. I don't think he was his manager. He might have been his doctor. But Dr. Nick had no managerial experience, that's for sure. Yeah, a lot of people are saying about the connection with Anne Margaret during the mid 60s before Priscilla and Elvis got married. And I think it kind of came close to jeopardizing the relationship between Priscilla and Elvis, um, in as much as I almost think that Elvis nearly had to make a choice, and he made a choice, as we know now, Priscilla. Whether he was forced into it or not, it's hard to know. Did Priscilla's parents say, "Don't forget, you've got an agreement. When we let her come over and stay with you in Graceland in 1962, you did make a promise to us." So maybe that's the reason why. Then again, another theory is that Anne Margaret was not prepared to give up show business, and he wanted a stay at home wife. He didn't want somebody else in the business doing what he was doing. Who knows? Who knows? It was very strange because the Memphis Mafia say that he just almost completely dropped Anne like a hot potato, and she even met up with the boys a little later in California out on the street, and she said, "Hey, what is it with your boss? He won't he won't return my calls. He won't see me anymore." So I would say that Elvis's hand might have been forced as far as the Priscilla situation was concerned, but that's only my opinion. I can't say for sure because of course I wasn't a fly on the wall. Elvis was overworked, poor diet, rough life. Yeah, and on the road the whole time and traveling, and just it was a sort of diet that he'd grown up with. The heavy, a lot of fat in the diet, a lot of salt in the diet, stuff like that, which won't do you any good. Um, yeah, I mean, we've got to admit, if we're pointing the finger at Priscilla and saying that she was seeing Mike Stone, and somebody else said something about her dance instructor prior to Mike. Um, was Elvis doing the same thing? That's a question we all have to ask ourselves. Can we just point the finger at Priscilla? Can we just point the finger at Elvis? Can we just point the finger at Mike? I know for a fact that Elvis never really got over Anne Margaret. He always went to her shows. He sent her flowers on opening night. He used to visit her. There was even a time when one of the boys said that he went backstage and told her how he still felt about her, and he wished things could have been differently. And I can imagine Elvis saying that. Actually, I can imagine Elvis saying that to Anne. Um, Anne's never really said anything bad about Elvis. She's always been quite a classy lady. Even to this day, she won't speak ill of him. And I'm sure there's stuff that she will never divulge about Elvis and her relationship with him. Now, Sandra Miller is on here somewhere, I think, and they want to know: is it the same Sandra Miller that is known as the Gate Sandra Miller? So, if you can confirm that, Sandra, known as the Gate Girl. Arkansas Dave, I don't think the Larry Geller interview is going to go ahead. Unfortunately, I can't make contact with Larry because every time I send a message, unfortunately, it's not replied to, which is a shame because I said last week I would have loved to have spoken to Larry. And if Larry's looking in, or his good lady Shira, I'd love to make contact with you again and speak to Larry. I know the listeners would like to hear what Larry's got to say. Elvis was made into a commodity. Yeah, well, Parker kind of did call him my attraction. Now, Sandra Miller isn't the Sandra that is the Gate Sandra Miller, apparently, by the looks of that. I always thought it was. I always thought Sandra, when you were commenting on my YouTube and podcast and all sorts of things, that you were Sandra Miller from the Gate. Sandro, I'm not seeing your comments or previous comments. Anyway, if you want to type it again, I'll see if I can answer that question. I suppose, David, you could say if there is a new book coming out, it will be the Mike Stone book. The next big thing we've got on Elvis is, of course, the Baz Luhrmann film, which I am really looking forward to because it's been a while since we've had something really new about Elvis. You can't really call um, Elvis and Nixon new. So, but that's another 13 months away. Yes, you're right, Dwayne. We do see Sandra on the channel quite a bit. She's a great supporter of the channel. I was watching a little bit of Aloha from Hawaii earlier on this afternoon, and I'm always, what's the word? Amused. I'm always amused when Elvis comes on and takes the guitar from Charlie, and then he gives a wee bump to Charlie in his midriff. I think he started doing that around about 1972. If anybody can remember seeing Elvis live prior to 1972 and seeing him bump Charlie in the belly with the bottom of the guitar. DKS plays, hi from Brazil. Nice to have you on board. That's a long, long way away from Ireland. Okay, Sandro. Yeah, I think I've kind of covered that, saying that Elvis was seeing other women while he was going out with Priscilla. That's why I'm saying I don't think. I don't think you can just point the finger at Priscilla. I don't think you can just point the finger at Elvis or Mike, or anything like that. Um, yeah, after Elvis bumps Charlie in the midriff, Charlie kicks him in the ass. Well, no, he didn't when he was doing that. But sometimes after he'd introduced Charlie and Charlie would bow, Elvis would kick him in the backside, and then uh, Charlie had returned the kick. You'll see this actually in the outtakes of Elvis in concert. He kicks him in the ass. Some people say that they don't think that Elvis's touring was as rigorous as anybody else's. No, but it was harder back in the 70s. I mean, everything is done for you now. If you're touring, you have a crew of thousands, and really I suppose all you have to do is turn up for rehearsals and turn up for the show. Uh, I don't I do believe that he was overworked in the 70s. I do. I know people say, well, when you add it all up, he was only on stage for an hour a night, and he had 2 weeks, and then he had a few weeks off, and then another 2 weeks. They were 2 week spurts, but I do believe that the touring was hard, and it's one of the things that um, made his health bad. Yeah, I was surprised at when Mike said that Priscilla said to him that she'd like to meet his wife and daughters. So Mike took her home to meet, I think it was Francine, I think was the name of the lady he was married to. So I thought that was surprising as well. I think Mike was surprised when Priscilla said that, but she just wanted to meet them. Why not? Um, we covered that last week, I believe. Elvis's grandson Benjamin is not actually buried next to him. He's buried the far side of the fountain, nearly opposite where Elvis is. And if you can go onto the webcam, the meditation webcam on the Graceland Insiders, it shows the meditation garden, and you can actually see exactly where it is. It's near the camera, the near side of the fountain. Yeah, buried opposite Elvis, you could say. Yeah, yeah. He's not actually buried. You're right. That's a good comment. Actually, he's not actually buried per se. Um, he's in a crypt above the ground. I said last week, I wonder why he wasn't placed next to Minnie May. Well, probably Minnie May next to Minnie May will be Lisa. People think maybe. Who knows? I'm not too sure whether Priscilla thought that Mike would leave his wife. We'd have to ask Mike what his opinion is on that. My opinion on Elvis's vocals in 1969 compared to 1970, his vocals were a lot harsher in 1968, 1969. They'd smoothed out a little bit more in 1970. We all know what his vocals were like in the 1968 NBC special. Really, really harsh and raw, and they were quite raw in the 1969 American Sound Studios sessions as well. Great sessions they were. Great sessions. Somebody said the song that not Priscilla, I beg your pardon, I'll back up. The song that Lisa Marie recorded called Lights Out is almost like an admission that she's going to be buried in a space in the backyard of Memphis. Well, the only space that was there when that was recorded was next to Minnie May. I don't know whether they might move Minnie May across and put her next to Elvis. That would make sense. I often see and hear comments saying that um, Priscilla saved Graceland. I'm not sure. Ron, sorry, I see you're asking about Al Strada. I haven't tried Al yet. I'm going to try and get Al, but Al doesn't really talk about Elvis anymore. It still upsets him, believe it or not. I heard from somebody that just talking about Elvis upsets him. But I might have a contact for Al, and I'm going to ask him if he'll come on. Yeah, I was going to say about people say that Priscilla saved Graceland, but it wasn't so much Priscilla that saved Graceland. She put the action and the plan in action to open up Graceland for visitors. But you have to give a lot of credit to the fans that support Graceland, and 600,000 of them that go there every year. So whereas she sort of put the ball rolling. Got Jack Soden in. Jack Soden does a great job, and so forth. So you've got to remember that without the fans and without the fans going and staying in the guest house and going across the road and spending money and so forth, it's the fans. And Elvis would agree with me. I know he would. If anybody had said this, he would say, without you, I'd be nothing. Okay, why did Priscilla, age 14, go to meet Elvis in 1959 when he was in Germany? Well, Curry Grant, who was a friend of a friend of Elvis's, asked Priscilla, would she like to meet Elvis? And she jumped at the chance. I mean, what 14-year-old girl wouldn't want to meet Elvis? Not many. Hello, Russia. That's great. Russia. Is it cold in Russia at the moment? I always imagine Russia would be cold now in October. Okay, we got a few more comments coming through. There was somebody saying here that Sandy Farah was 14 as well. Well, you see, that would have been sort of the average age of an Elvis fan at that time. Now, don't jump down my throat and say, well, I was 25 when I started liking Elvis in 1956. I'm just saying that the average age would probably have been about 14 then. So it's not unusual. Yeah, that's right. Sandy Farrer, Wink Martindale's wife, to this day, I believe. My opinion on the Aloha from Hawaii version of My Way compared to the very last one on CBS Concert. Yeah, it always puzzled me, even from the very, very beginning when I first saw the CBS special in October 1977, how he had to read the lyrics of My Way, even though he'd sung it quite a few times live. He'd recorded it as well in the studio, but he needed the lyric sheets. He probably didn't have the capacity for remembering the lyrics like he did when he was younger. I mean, he'd sung so many songs anyway. When I was watching the Aloha from Hawaii special this afternoon, you could see the boys stage center back from Elvis with the cue cards, dropping the cue cards as he was singing the song, especially Burning Love. We know that he messed up the lyrics in the rehearsal show. And there's another one that's going to come to mind as well. Welcome to My World. He messed the lyrics up in the rehearsal for that as well. And there's photographs and video of the lads with the cue cards for Welcome to My World as well. So it's not unusual for Elvis to not know lyrics There was an awful lot of songs to remember. I know he did the same songs night after night after night, but he did every so often he would throw new songs in. There was quite a few new songs in Aloha from Hawaii. That's probably why he needed the boards. Uh, if he didn't know if he didn't know the words, he'd fake them anyway. That's what he used to say. He needed the lyrics to "I Just Can't Help Believing" as well as seen in "That's the Way It Is." He needed the lyrics for Burning Love again. He needed them again in Elvis on Tour. Linda was with Elvis during Hello from Hawaii. Yes, there was somebody last week or the week before saying that their granny was in the audience for Aloha from Hawaii. I'm not sure whether she was caught on camera or not. It'd be interesting, wouldn't it, to be watching it and then seeing your granny. Steamroller Blues was one of the great songs of the Aloha from Hawaii, and both rehearsal and the broadcast versions are brilliant. Brilliant, yeah. He says, if the songs don't go over, we can do a medley of costumes. That's what he says while he's waiting backstage for That's the Way It Is. So I don't think he never really worried too much about the lyrics. If he forgot them, he forgot them. He just laughed them off. Elvis was such a cool guy. He really was. Yeah, I agree. Actually, he could have been nerves. Elvis said he never got over stage fright. Never got over stage fright. Um, yeah, what did he say in the introduction to? I just can't help believing BJ Thomas has out a new record, and I don't particularly like it, but it's his own thing. That's what he says. I mean, Elvis was always a funny guy as well. Yeah, so I don't think he realized sometimes how funny he was. He'd say something just offhand, and then when the audience laughed or the band laughed, he'd then realize what a funny guy he was. Um, somebody's asking there, is is Elvis with minors the same as Michael Jackson? I don't see any connection whatsoever. No connection whatsoever. Somebody watching GI Blues. It's on the television at the moment, UK TV. I shouldn't have really said that because everybody will turn off here now and go and watch GI Blues. By the way, if you come in late and you miss any of this, you can watch this on replay. I'm not sure if it's immediately available on replay, but you can watch this on replay and you can see the comments being replayed as well. I always forget which side the comments are. It's that side. Yeah, you could always record it. You could record GI Blues and sit and rap with me. Elvis on tour footage. There's a group on Facebook called Re-Release, or not Re-Release, Release All the Elvis on Tour Footage. So if you want to check that out, I'm a full supporter of it because there's hours and hours and hours of footage, which it's all tied up through legal red tape. Just going back to the Mike Stone interview, what part did I find interesting? Um, I found I found very very interesting the meetings, the very very first meetings that Mike and Priscilla had, and certain things like when she fell back into his arms, she knew that he was there, so she knew that he'd catch her and things like that. I found that quite interesting. For whatever reason, she did it, and so forth. That's that's open to interpretation. Um, so those are some of the things I found interesting. I found it very interesting speaking to Mike anyway because I was very interested in what he had to say. What did you find interesting? If anybody now is watching this live now and they listen to the Mike Stone interview, if you can tell me what you found interesting, I'd be interested to see in the comments. Hi NYC girl, how are you? I don't think the "Are You Lonesome Tonight," which was broadcast on the 1977 CBS special, was drug fueled. No, he often fooled around with the spoken bridge on "Are You Lonesome Tonight." In fact, there's the famous "Are You Laughing Tonight" version from 1969, where he just completely loses it. So I don't think he really took "Are You Lonesome Tonight" that serious after he recorded it. Um, It was very rare for him to to do a straight version of "Are You Lonesome Tonight" without throwing something in there. If, um, if you want my opinion on the 1977 CBS special, he's clearly ill. Um, he's not so much overweight as bloated. He was on various medications for the health issues he had. Uh, the date of 21st of June 1977 Rapid City made up 90% of the concert footage anyway because it was the better of the two concerts. Omaha 2 nights before wasn't great. It was an off night for Elvis, and it wasn't great. He didn't look great because he didn't look that great on both because of the makeup they made him wear. So it'll never. I don't think it'll. Well, not in my lifetime anyway. I don't think EPE will ever release it officially. It's available anyway online, but officially, I don't think they will. They have nothing to gain really by releasing it. Um, Money, yes, but they're hardly short of revenue, thanks to us fans. But Dave, it's awful in some ways to see the change. If you look at that's the way it is, and then you look immediately at Elvis in concert, you can see the change. But you've got to think there's 7 long years between that's the way it is and Elvis in concert. Um, the only part from Indianapolis was when he comes off the plane and Todd Slaughter is there to meet him from the English fan club, and he presents him with a trophy, and he's also presented with a disc for the millionth pressing from the RCA Indianapolis plant. I think no, it's not a million, is it? 50 million or billions or something, is it? Somebody correct me. How many pressings was it? I can see a count here of all the people that are watching this, and I just want to say, I'm going to look straight in the camera and say this now. Thank you very, very much for joining me tonight. I do appreciate every single person that watches this. I appreciate all the comments, all the follows, and so forth, and all the subscribers to my channel. So I'm not being contrite or anything or blasé about that. I do appreciate every single person now watching this live feed. Hey Annie, how are you doing? Now that's a very good question. Somebody is saying, "How will Ben's father see, visit him?" Well, I would imagine he would be allowed to do that. You know, he would get special dispensation to visit the grave. Is it 2 billion, Prestons? Is it, Pablo? I knew it was something like that. I knew it wasn't a million anyway. Way too low. Yeah, Vernon saying the last live performance of Elvis on stage. Well, it's the last live recorded performance because that was the 21st of June was the last professional taping and recording of Elvis on stage. There's obviously amateur footage of Indianapolis. It's not that bad, actually. It's not that bad. And there were some good concerts prior to the CBS filming, and there were some good concerts after. It's just unfortunate that Omaha was not a great night. Rapid City was a lot better. Still not top notch. Top notch as far as Elvis is concerned. Um, he was definitely past the peak of the live performances then. But I don't hold anything like that against him. We all get old. We all run out of gas. Yeah, it probably was. Indianapolis was probably filmed by a local TV crew. That's why it's not too bad at all. Thank you, Tina. That's very kind for that comment. Yes, Elvis did tell somebody F you. For anybody that doesn't know the story, it was kind of it was in Vegas and it was between songs, and a girl calls out, "I love you, Elvis." And he says, "Thank you, dear. I love you too." Um, and then a guy shouts out, "I hate you, Elvis." And he says, "F you," like that, very quickly. And it was such a kind of an almost like a an automatic knee-jerk response. And he actually apologized and laughed about it halfway through the next song, which was American Trilogy. So that's just a funny story. I'm sure the guy didn't take offense because the guy was joking when he said, "I hate you, Elvis." He didn't really hate him. It was just like a retort to the girl that said, "I love you, Elvis." Because Elvis kind of laughed halfway through the song and said, "I'm only joking. I'm only joking." I don't think anybody took offense. I don't think Elvis took offense at the guy shouting, "I hate you, Elvis." And I'm pretty sure the guy didn't take offense at Elvis telling him to F. It's just a funny story. There was there was there was jealousy from guys over Elvis. You know, if you were going out with a young lady and she just went to jelly every time Elvis came on stage or walked past or whatever, you can kind of see why. That's why the guys were around Elvis is just to make sure that nobody decided to take a pop at Elvis. Um, I remember Lamar saying once that they were worried for him when they were in places like Paris and Germany and all those places because when during the army years, somebody could throw acid in his face. I don't know whether that was a thing back then. It's certainly a thing now. Unfortunately, we do hear of it every so often, somebody getting acid thrown in their face, which is crazy. But I do remember seeing that written down by yeah. Okay, somebody's saying that Red, Sonny died weeks apart. Strange, isn't it? Yeah, they did. Red didn't last long after Sonny. Sonny had been sick for quite a while, though, hadn't he? Yeah, somebody's saying there about the '68 comeback special. Elvis was filling time, and he picked up the electric guitar and did a version, a very, very good version of "Well of Baby What You Want Me to Do." That was during the stand-up shows on the 29th. My dad was just jealous of mum listening to Elvis. I'm sure there was a lot of guys out there who would have loved to have taken a pop at Elvis. Do you remember the fella Hooper or Hopper or whatever his name was, Ed Hopper, hit Elvis at a gas station because all the Elvis stopped for gas, and all the attention from all the girls and everything was blocking his gas station, and he asked Elvis to move, and Elvis said, "Yeah, well, just a minute, we'll move in a second." And he said, "No, now." And Elvis said, "Well, just I need to sign these autographs," because Elvis was like that. He wouldn't just not sign autographs for people. And so Ed decided to give Elvis a batter around the back of the head, and one thing led to another. Elvis could, even as early as 1956, Elvis wouldn't shy away. If somebody had a pop at him, he would defend himself. He wouldn't go looking for trouble, even though he sang the song, "If You're Looking for Trouble." But he would stand up to people, and he gave him a black eye. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, no matter how out of shape Elvis seemed to look in those last few years, how bloated he was still far better looking than any guy around. What was Elvis? What was everybody's favorite part of the Mike Stone interview? As I said, I found it fascinating, the part where he was saying about how Priscilla was knew that if she fell back, he'd catch her, and also kind of nearly not acknowledging Mike until right at the very when she got to the door and she called back, "Good night, Mr. Stone," at the top of her voice. She was obviously trying to kind of uh, you know, just get in well with Mike. She was obviously attracted to Mike. Yeah, somebody says there that their favorite part was the insight into the motives of Priscilla. Well, as I say, with hindsight now, it's obvious that she was attracted to Mike, and Mike kind of said, she wanted out. I do have future interviews coming up. I'm not at liberty to say yet because again, unfortunately, I got stung with Larry because I'd said that Larry was coming up, and then unfortunately he postponed and then cancelled. So I do have more interviews coming up. Yes, I do. I my one of my biggest regrets. Let's not say Elvis not touring the world and not doing the world tour, because everybody says that's a huge regret. But I would say my other regret for Elvis's career is not making better movies after about 1964. I would say that's one big regret. And another regret, not so much for his career, but just it was a missed opportunity. Was not professionally filming the August 31st concert when he returned to live performances. And it's a strange thing as well. The August 1st press conference after the opening night, in the early hours of August 1st, great photographs of Elvis. There's transcripts of the interview, but there's no audio. No audio. Did nobody take in a tape recorder or any sound recording device whatsoever? It's I still to this day I'm flabbergasted. I'm still hoping that one day audio will turn up from that night. If there's a transcript of the interview, surely, unless the reporters were using shorthand, it was recorded and then transcribed from a tape. Okay. I don't think that Elvis wanted Priscilla back. That's my own personal opinion. I think he'd realized that time had moved on. That's my own personal opinion. Um, Vernon is on record as well, answering a fan a letter saying that he'd spoken with Elvis about Priscilla after she'd gone, and he professed no desire to have her back. I think he lamented the breakdown of the marriage, maybe because he thought it might affect Lisa Marie. But I don't. It's only my own personal opinion. I don't think he wanted Priscilla back. Another thing I wished had been filmed professionally was Madison Square Garden. We have Prince from Another Planet, but it's quite good. It's been worked on, but again, professionally, if it had been filmed, brilliant. Mike, when I asked Mike about there were threats and so forth, and he said yes, he was aware of those. And I asked him if he was worried, and obviously he said no, he wasn't. He was never worried. He always felt he could stand his own ground. Maybe he thought that Elvis wouldn't go through with the threats anyway. It was just he was venting. Um, okay, I'm just seeing a few other comments coming in now. Yeah, I was saying he was worried about the effect on Lisa Marie of Priscilla and him breaking up, but he had full access to her. I don't think there was any time when Priscilla said you can't see Lisa. He had full access to her. There's rumor, and I think it is a rumor, that no, I won't say that. No, I'll retract that. I was going to say something, but I might save it for another time in another interview. Somebody's saying that Elvis was fed up near the end. I think he was. I think he'd had his fill by about 74, 75 of touring. Now he hadn't his fill of fans. I think he'd had his fill of doing the same venues year after year after year, seeing the same faces, the same hotels. There was a time when he wanted definitely to do other countries. We'll probably never know now for sure why it wasn't taken up. I mean, one of the main reasons is Colonel Parker being an illegal alien and couldn't leave the country. He had no passport. Had he become a caricature of himself by 1977? I think he probably felt he had himself, because he used to poke a lot of fun at himself, the shaky leg and the lip. He used to push his lip up like that and say, it worked fine when I was 21, and and he'd always joke about the shaky leg. When do I think that Elvis peaked vocally? I probably think round about 1960, 1961. Okay. Yeah, there's a famous quote, isn't there, saying, "I got news for you, baby. I did 29 pictures like that." That was at the 1968 special. I've I've often wondered about that remark. I got news for you, baby. I did 29 pictures like that, and everybody laughs and everything. And then Steve Binder says over the talkback, and you're going to do 29 more, and laughs. And you can just hear Elvis say, "I hope so," meaning, "I hope I make another 29 movies." That's what it sounds like to me. If you dig out that part and replay it and see, and you might see what I mean when he says, "I got news for you, baby. I did 20 pages like that," and you know, if you can dig that out, it's on the outtakes of the NBC special. Yeah, another regret would be not doing more of the songs that he sang. We recorded in a studio and then sang them live. There's loads of songs that he never did live. Maybe people would like to comment on what they would have loved to have heard him sing live. I mean, just Long Black Limousine. I would love to have heard a live version of that. He did quite a quick version of Return to Sender. He did Wooden Heart as well, but they're audience recordings. They're not professional recordings. Surrender. If I Can Dream. Yeah. He did one line of If I Can Dream and then just dropped it. Way Down. He never got a chance to perform that live. Whether he would have in the tour he was going to do. It started in Maine. He recorded "I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry," but I know what you mean. Not live. You wish he'd have recorded it in the studio. "Tomorrow Never Comes," "Wearing That Love Done Look," "Power of My Love," "You'll Think of Me." Yeah, that's right. I agree. He did "Kentucky Rain" live, but he didn't do an awful lot of songs from. Oh yeah, "Any Day Now" is one. Now there is there. I just want to show those two there. There's a kind of a rehearsal on stage of "Any Day Now" recorded in 1972, but officially there's no one. Susie Quattro turned down Elvis, did she? Fair enough. Yeah, "It's Impossible" is another one I wish he'd recorded. Although that being said, the live the live version of "It's Impossible" is a good song recorded in February 1972. It's a good recording. Yeah, one of the highlights of the 1968 special is at the sit down show when he swaps guitars with Scotty Moore, and he batters the hell out of Scotty's guitar. I don't know whether Scotty minded or not. There's not much he could do about it. Trouble. There is a live recording of Trouble. Sylvia. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, some of the songs would have been hard to actually sing live. I'm pretty sure "Only the Strong Survive" would have been quite difficult to sing. I think the physical side of Elvis's and Priscilla's marriage had broken down fairly soon after the arrival of Lisa. We've heard many people say that that's the case, which is a shame. I don't think Elvis had a lot of plastic surgery. He had some surgery in 1975, but it was only like a little bit on the eyes, a little tuck here behind the ear. They stitched it behind the ear. It's funny because the story about the plastic surgery in 1975 was Elvis asked Lamar up to his bedroom and said, "Well," and Lamar said, "Well, what?" And he says, "Well, can you not see the difference?" And Lamar said, "What difference?" And Elvis showed him the stitching behind the ear and so forth, and said what he'd had done. He'd had the eyes taken in a little bit and so forth. And Lamar said it actually, he never liked it. He never liked it after that. It took away the sleepiness of his eyes. Maybe I don't know whether anybody can see the difference after 1975. Elvis didn't really need, in my opinion, he didn't need any plastic surgery anyway. Yes, always on my mind. Wouldn't that have been great to have been sung live? Maybe at the piano, because it was quite there was quite heavy piano use in it at times. I can see Elvis sat at the piano, doing the piano and singing "Always on My Mind." A little bit like what he did with the Unchained Melody. Okay, did he ever sing Beatles songs live? Well, he sang something. He sang "Hey Jude." He sang "Yesterday." Um, is there any I've forgotten? Oh, well, he did Lady Madonna, but he didn't sing it live, but he did Lady Madonna at the studio in 1970. Get Back. Somebody's just reminded me there. Get Back. Yeah, he did Get Back as well. He kind of segued it into Little Sister. It was Little Sister segued into Get Back. Yeah, somebody's saying there. It's funny how us men have a man crush on Elvis. Yeah. Well, you know, he was that really good looking, wasn't he? I mean, I'm straight, but I can see. I often say actually, Elvis was beautiful. He was beautiful. You don't very often hear of a man being called beautiful, but he was beautiful. That's for sure. Wasn't separate ways about Priscilla. Uh, well, Red West wrote it around about the time all this was going on. Priscilla walking out and so forth. And he said he originally wrote it through the eyes of a little boy and changed it to someday when she's older um, because of Lisa. He sang a few Dylan songs. Yes, he did. No, I don't think he was going to sing Moody Blue just before he sang Unchained Melody. There is live versions of Moody Blue. One of the ones I think he abandons because it was too high. He started it in the wrong key. I don't think My Little Friend was about Anita Wood. No, Anita was way off the scene by the time My Little Friend was recorded. Yeah, Elvis is apparently down on record as saying during the March 1972 recording sessions about Always on My Mind and Separate Ways. You guys are killing me with these songs. So he also tried the Dobie Gray song We Had It All at Stax in 1973 and abandoned it again. I don't know whether it's because he just thought he couldn't do the song justice, or whether he thought that people would see similarities between the song and his situation with Priscilla. Did Elvis ever try and write any songs? He wrote "You'll Be Gone" in the 60s, but most of the time he just relied on the songwriters that Colonel Parker allowed to write for Elvis. Elvis could sing just about anything, I think. Anyway, there's hardly any song now that he couldn't do justice to. That that was part of the amazing thing about Elvis, was he could just about sing anything. Yeah, I've addressed that, Sandro, about the physical side of Elvis's relationship. Pablo enjoyed my podcast about the Stack sessions. Thanks very much. Anybody wants to check those out, it's the Elvis at Stacks Part 1 and Part 2 on the Elvis the Ultimate Fan channel podcast channel. I don't know what time Elvis arrived at the court for the divorce settlement on October the 9th. No, I would imagine it was morning time. I don't think Elvis ever said he had a favorite song of all time. He always kind of said, "This is one of my favorite songs." If anybody'd like to throw in here what their favorite song is, I am frequently asked what my favorite song is. And every time I think I know I've settled on one, the next day I think, well, hang on, maybe that's a better one. So I've never been able to actually finalize my favorite Elvis song. My favorite Mac Davis song, because we were discussing Mac Davis last year, last week, passing away, and I said that it was "A Little Less Conversation." So people are listing here things like "Just Pretend." "Just Pretend" is a great song. "In the Ghetto," well, we know "In the Ghetto." Three Corn Patches is very poor, but then again, things like "Old MacDonald," "Dating," "Dog's Life," "Yoga Is as Yoga Does," all those songs that unfortunately was just written around the situation of the movie. Who took the coffin pick? It was either Bobby Man or Billy Man. I'm not sure. I think it might be Billy Man. It was a cousin of Elvis's. Took a little Minox camera into Graceland and got the shot of Elvis lying in the casket. Somebody might correct me now. Is it Billy or Bobby? I think it's Billy Man. I certainly do believe that at one time Elvis loved Priscilla. It's just circumstances, and things change in relationships. Mike Stone said in the interview, if there's anybody listening now to this, have you ever had a relationship that just for one reason or another just fizzled out or ended for whatever reason? And most of us can hold our hands up and say yes. And that's what I believe happened with Elvis and Priscilla. "She's Not You" is a great song. Yeah, imagine him singing "She's Not You" live. Somebody's just confirmed for me, Billy Man. Yeah, I thought it was Billy. I always get mixed up whether it was Billy or Bobby, but I was gonna go for Billy. Elvis nearly recorded MacArthur Park. I think he did. He sings a little bit of it. He pokes fun at MacArthur Park during the taping of the '69 Sorry, not 69, 68 NBC special. He sings it in a falsetto voice. Yeah. Stranger in the Crowd. There is a live recording of Stranger in the Crowd. It's often been said that Elvis's favorite movie was King Creole, and you can see why. Steve Binder put MacArthur Park in his head. He probably did. In fact, did he say, if you'd have had chance to record MacArthur Park, would you have recorded it? And Elvis said, most definitely. And then Steve knew then that Elvis was interested in doing a really, really good show. I liked Charo. People are asking about movies and things like that. I thought Charo was quite good. I thought Elvis looked extremely good as a cowboy with a beard. He looked he looked more convincing as a cowboy in Charo than he did in all the other ones. He didn't look too bad in Stay Away Joe, but of them all, the most convincing cowboy was Charo. Some of his films, I think, didn't. They wouldn't even get an airing today if it wasn't for the fact that Elvis Presley was in them. Elvis Presley's name sold those movies, some of those movies, no doubt. Hal Wallace said there's one sure banker in the movie world today. This was obviously during the 60s. He was quoted as saying this, and that's an Elvis Presley movie. They all made money. They didn't. They started to not make as much as the 60s went on, but they all made money. There was never an Elvis movie that flopped. Okay, I mean, it's fair to say that the revenue did go down as the 60s started to come to an end, but you can honestly say that no Elvis movie actually flopped. You see, the only thing with Charo is that by the time that came around, they were just fulfilling the contracts they'd signed for National General Picture, and they were just fulfilling the contracts. They were just fulfilling the contracts from probably about 1967 onwards. There was no real desire to make any movie that was going to win an Academy Award. It was just fulfilling the contracts that they'd signed in the early to mid 60s. Yes, he was. He was at one time he was the highest paid movie actor in the 60s. I've mentioned before, actually, Harem Scarum is just it's nearly an insult to Elvis, I think. And I think he realized that as well. He did say in the 1972 interview that he did for Elvis on tour that they were making him physically ill. The Memphis Mafia boys said that one of the side effects of the stress that he was feeling, the stress that he was under during the movie years, was terrible nosebleeds. He'd have terrible nosebleeds. Okay, I mean, Flaming Star was really good. Yeah, it was a good movie. It was one of the movies that made Elvis destined to make travelogues and beach movies and things like that, because it didn't. It wasn't as successful as GI Blues, and it wasn't as successful as Blue Hawaii and things like that. In fact, because Blue Hawaii was so successful over things like Flaming Star and Wild in the Country, just, it proved to the Colonel that that's what people wanted. They wanted the beach movies, and they wanted Elvis singing 14 songs surrounded by glamorous girls in an exotic setting. So that really sealed Elvis's fate as far as an actor is concerned. And unfortunately, because Blue Hawaii was so successful. Yeah, I mean, somebody's saying there, Wild in the Country killed his dramatic roles. Yeah, that's exactly. It didn't. I wouldn't say it flopped, but it just didn't make as much money as GI Blues, and then afterwards, Blue Hawaii. It did. Blue Hawaii forever sealed Elvis's fate that he wouldn't make a dramatic picture anymore after that. So I'm gonna. Anybody wanting to see my Elvis mug make an appearance? I'm not convinced that Colonel Parker was the worst thing that ever happened to Elvis, as far as he definitely got Elvis started well in 1956. He just, the contacts he had, and the as a promoter and things like that. So he was the springboard that Elvis needed, that Sam Phillips couldn't give him. And Sam knew that. He knew that he wasn't doing Elvis justice as far as his career was concerned. And but I've said before, after about 1961, 62, Elvis would have benefited from elbowing Parker and getting somebody that could see the potential that Elvis had. I don't think Parker could see the potential after about 1961, 62. It was just get the movies contract signed on the dotted line, make sure that Elvis got the $1 million per picture and a share of the profits. And that's all Parker wanted. He wanted the now money. It was quick. It was quick and lucrative. They could film a movie in 18 days and walk away with $1 million and part of the profits. But artistically, it strangled Elvis. It didn't allow him to. Peter Grant would have made a good manager for Elvis. Yeah. Jerry Winthorpe, another one, would have made a good one. Yeah, I mean that's what that MG63 is echoing what I'm saying there. Colonel Parker was ultimately good to get Elvis started, but Elvis could have easily outgrown Colonel Parker and left him, just said, thanks for your help, but that's it. I want dramatic roles. I don't want to sing the movie songs. I want to be able to go and do a world tour. Elvis must have been fed up of people asking him during his 50s, when are you coming to England? Everybody in England wanted Elvis. Elvis liked actors. He liked James Dean, and he liked the Bond movies and those sort of things. I haven't been to Italy. No, somebody's asking me if I've been to Italy. No, I haven't. It's one place I haven't been to, is Italy. Could be on my bucket list, though. So yeah, some of the movie songs are okay. I'm not saying they're all bad, but there was some stinkers in there. Yeah, he did outgrow Parker, but Parker had a grasp on him, and of course Elvis was very loyal as well. Elvis liked Monty Python movies. He liked Monty Python on television. He liked the television show, and then he liked the Monty Python movies. Yoga is as yoga does was a stinker. Yeah, I agree. Elvis had the opportunity of singing "I Will Always Love You," but Dolly Parton wouldn't give up the publishing. He loved the Pink Panther movies. Yeah, he did. Sofa King. No, I don't think the most Elvis made was 100,000. I think that's incorrect. There was a he was a he did achieve $1 million per picture in the mid '60s, plus some of the profits, share of the profits. But didn't he do Tickle Me as a favor to United Artists? Um, they didn't do any new recordings for the soundtrack for Tickle Me to keep costs down, and I think they even said they wouldn't ask for a share of the profits until it had made back its overheads. Tickle Me, saying somebody's saying actually that Tickle Me is one of their favorite movies. It's okay. It's quite funny in places. I often say a lot of people criticize Double Trouble, but I actually like Double Trouble in some places because some of it is quite funny. That part where Elvis nearly falls overboard from the ship. It's quite funny. What Elvis movies would people have liked to have seen Elvis star in? I know people would say they'd love to have seen Elvis in A Star Is Born with Barbara Streisand, but there's other films as well which I think he would have done well in. I think actually Elvis would have made a good James Bond. I really do. I don't know whether did Brando say he didn't like Elvis? I think Elvis would have done good in West Side Story. Elvis had great comedic timing. He did actually. He did. Yeah. Just swap over my drinks. I don't think Elvis claimed to invent any music. He said he came along just at the right time when people were looking for something different. But I don't think Elvis was. Yeah, he didn't say that he invented rock and roll. He said that it was around long before he started recording it, and the blues and stuff like that. Shake Rag when he was growing up in Tupelo. Um, let's think now. Let me think. What other movies would he have been good in? He would have been good in the Dirty Harry movies. I think he would have loved to have played the role that Clint Eastwood played in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. He couldn't have been the ugly. So yeah, the only one I think he could have played was The Good. Great movie. I often think Elvis could have pulled that off. Let me think what other films. Even like the '70s, he could have been good in something like Jaws. He could have played Quint. I really do think he could have played something like Quint. Something with a little bit of edge to him. I don't know whether spaghetti westerns were budget. Maybe they were. I don't really know enough about the spaghetti westerns. I like watching them, but I don't know much about their budget. You'd imagine there was quite a bit of money put into it. They were well filmed and they were well acted. We all know. Well, we think we know why he didn't do A Star Is Born is because Colonel Parker vetoed it. Maybe Elvis said, I'll go with whatever my manager says. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Yeah, if he'd have been either he could have played either Butch or Sundance. I think. Wondering which we would have liked. Would we have liked Butch or Sundance? He hated Robert Goulet, apparently. He'd shoot the television out when Robert Goulet come on the television. Midnight Cowboy. I heard a rumor that he was asked to play John Voight's character in Midnight Cowboy. I like Change of Habit. One of the reasons why I like Change of Habit is because he looks so damn good in Change of Habit. He looked really, really good in Change of Habit. Somebody thinks there now that he didn't want to do the Star is Born, but he blamed the Colonel, so he couldn't do it. You know, in other words, he says the Colonel won't let me do it, even though he didn't want to do it. He says the Colonel won't let me do it. Um, Elvis made a comment about Tickle Me being entertaining. Well, you see, all the films were entertaining. They just some of the situations and some of the songs were bad. I mean, Elvis made those movies. Without those movies, they would never have been made. You know, some of those movies would never have been made if it had been for Elvis. Yeah, there's a nice hairstyle he has in Change of Habit. It's a completely different hairstyle. Clam Bake wasn't bad. Mm, You Don't Know Me was a good song in Clam Bake. Somebody's mentioning Elvis and Nixon. Woeful, woeful. They had him doing karate in the Oval Office. I don't think so. Was Elvis out of shape when Barbara asked him to do A Star Is Born? Now, if he was, that would have been the perfect opportunity for him to get in shape, because don't forget Marty Pasetta, when he met Elvis in November 1972 about the Aloha from Hawaii special. He says, you know, you're too heavy. You need to lose weight. And we all know what Elvis did. He looked absolutely fabulous in Aloha from Hawaii. So the challenge of A Star Is Born would have definitely helped. Worst Elvis movies: Double Trouble, Clam Bake, Speedway, Paradise Hawaiian Style. Yeah, Double Trouble. I would take Double Trouble out of that list, but I would leave the other ones in there. Paradise Hawaiian Style, particularly, I would leave in there for reasons I've mentioned before. Singing to dogs and children. Mm. Yeah, there was some question about billing as well for A Star Is Born. They said that Barbara's name would appear above Elvis, and she would be paid more than Elvis. So that would have been another. That would have been another reason, maybe, why it wasn't done, because Elvis's name had to appear above everybody else's, and Elvis had to be paid at least as much, if not more, than Barbara. Roustabout, yeah, Roustabout was okay. Roustabout had some good songs, actually. It was his last really, really big seller as far as soundtracks were concerned. After that, the soundtracks didn't do too well. In fact, it was a number one album. Roustabout hit the top of the charts. So there was a film here which I wanted to just backtrack and see. True Grit. That's another one I was trying to think of. True Grit would have been he could have played the part that Glenn Campbell played, definitely, without a doubt. So there's so many films we would have loved to have seen Elvis in. I said Jaws. I said Quint. I don't think many people have thought that. Elvis was supposed to have been in Rio Bravo. Yeah. So many missed opportunities, really. When there's so many missed opportunities in Elvis's career. Anyway, like I mentioned earlier, not recording and professionally filming August the 31st comeback was a big Rio Bravo. Yeah, he should have been in Rio Bravo. He could have slotted into Star Wars as well. He would have loved that, I'm sure. The Spy Who Loved Me. He would have made a good James Bond. You see, the thing is unfortunately Hollywood saw him as a singer, not an actor. So he was he the primarily his movies was about singing. So he was a singer that did a little bit of acting instead of an actor that did a little bit of singing. Raquel Welch appeared in Roustabout. That's correct. She's in the scene where just before he sings Poison Ivy League. She's one of the girlfriends of the Rah Rah Boys. Imagine Elvis on Broadway. Imagine Elvis singing Imagine. That's just popped into my head. Singing the John Lennon song Imagine. Again at the piano. You can see him sitting at the piano doing the song like he did Unchained Melody. Elvis is a phenomenon that will never be forgotten, correct? Poison Ivy League. Phantom of the Opera. Yeah. I didn't know Terry Garr was in Roustabout. I probably did. I just forgot. Favorite song, Hound Dog or A Dog's Life? No, I couldn't take Dog's Life. The only reason I listened to A Dog's Life is the outtakes where Elvis is cracking up because they're very, very funny. Very funny. Elvis could have played the Charlton Heston role in Planet of the Apes. Yeah, he could have. My coaster stuck to my bottom of my mug. I like it. You see, we all know that Elvis could easily have pulled off dramatic acting. When you see Jailhouse Rock, when you see King Creole, those movies, you know that he could have been a dramatic actor. It's just he wasn't allowed. Yes. Yeah, just going back to the outtakes. Um, there's great outtakes. Beat Shack, he cracks up over. Um, Are You Lonesome Tonight? That's the live one. He cracks up over. Dayton. There's loads of them where he just cracks up laughing. Um, Wooden Heart is another one he cracks up laughing over. He had a really soulful laugh. He used to laugh right from his boots up. He would laugh. There's nothing better than listening to Elvis's outtakes and then busting himself laughing. Summer Kisses, Winter Tears is another one. Yeah. Yeah, there's probably a rumor that he wanted to be in the Godfather film. I think he looked at so many films and said, I wished I could have played that character or this character or so forth. Imagine Judy Garland and Elvis doing a duet. Yeah, duets are a bit of a touchy subject with me because I always think, Elvis's voice and Elvis's alone is all that's needed. Does anybody remember the Celine Dion Elvis "If I Can Dream" American Idol appearance? What did people think of that? I just prefer Elvis singing "If I Can Dream" on his own. I know some Celine Dion fans said, "Well, she did a great job," but I would have just left it with Elvis. Yeah, whenever I'm fed up, I just put on some outtakes and listen to Elvis laugh. I don't know whether Ursula Andress and Elvis knew each other before 1963, the Fun in Acapulco movie. You just recorded the This Is Elvis movie. It was on. Where was it on? I didn't think it was shown on TV anymore. That I actually had This Is Elvis. I actually had the extended version on VHS. I've still got it in my collection somewhere. Oh, right. What time is it with me now? Yeah, in Kansas it's 3:06. It's 6 minutes past 9 in the evening here in Ireland. Dion's voice is high singing with Elvis in that song. Yeah, to me it just doesn't match. Elvis's voice, or rather Celine Dion's voice, doesn't match with the song. It was the only thing I will say. I'll hold my hand up and say it's actually clever the way it's done. It's very, very clever with the way they've mixed Elvis's image with Celine Dion's, and then for some of the longer the distance shots, they've used a double, but it should have just been left alone, I believe. Yeah, now somebody's saying there they like Lisa Marie with Elvis. I mean, that's okay because it's his daughter. So, you know, I don't think Lisa will be doing much recording for a while, though. She's had a rough time recently, so she'll want to be left alone, I would imagine, for a while. Bill Bixby was in Speedway, I believe. Maybe he was in Spin Out as well. Was Bill Bixby in two of Elvis's films, or was it just one? Lisa Marie albums are quite good. Yeah, I liked the first one, the one with Lights Out. To Whom It Concerned, I think it was. Yeah, Bill Bixby was in Speedway. Yes. Clambake. Was he in Clambake? No, I don't think he was in Clambake. We're still waiting for the Elvis hologram. I don't know what's quite happened with that. I would imagine maybe it's been put on the back burner because they're pushing all their efforts into promoting the Baz Luhrmann film. I saw on YouTube the Roy Orbison one, and it looked effective, but he almost looked too small on the stage. He looked out of proportion to the rest of the stage. So, yeah, Bill Bixby was in Clambake. I'm getting a little bit mixed up here. I must be getting tired, but I thought he was in Speedway and Spin Out, but he must have been Speedway and Clambake. So I am getting a bit confused. Well, Celine Dion isn't really my cup of tea. I can see why people would think she's one of the best female singers in history. Fair enough, but she's not really my cup of tea. I've always felt that Elvis's the female version of Elvis would have been Karen Carpenter. Sort of that sort of thing. I would have loved to have heard Karen Carpenter and Elvis singing together. Can you imagine that? Lady Gaga? Somebody's saying Lady Gaga. I still don't know when the Red Book is due for release. We know it's up and coming, but I don't know when it's coming out. Whitney Houston, yeah, I wonder whether Whitney Houston would have made a good duet with Elvis. Yeah, Karen Carpenter for me is the female equivalent of Elvis. Yeah, Lee Chat says 168 watching and only 98 thumbs up. That's because not everybody is liking it. Unless we can get more thumbs up. If we can get the same number of thumbs up as viewers. Don't forget, guys, if you're watching this, you've just come in late and there's anything you've missed, you can watch this on replay. And don't forget also to subscribe to my channel and give me the thumbs up as well, because the more subscribers I have, the more my videos are pushed out, which means that more people will get to see them and will keep Elvis's name alive. So that's the reason why I ask. I know I sound like I'm touting for business, but it's not. It's just pure the way the algorithm works. The more people that like and comment and thumbs up, the more the videos are pushed out. I've also been told that if you give 'em a thumbs down as well, it's still counted as a reaction. So if anybody wants the thumbs down, that's fine. No problem. No problem at all. Just going back to Elvis's love life, I mean, we could list out a long list. I mean, you could say Deborah Paget and Anne Margaret and things like that. Deborah wasn't interested really in Elvis. She just said he was a nice boy, but she was dating Howard Hughes at the time. But a really, really good book is the Alan and Ash Baby Let's Play House. That delves into Elvis's love life. It's a really, really good book. Yeah, Dave, I did interview Alan and Ash. If anybody wants to listen to that on YouTube, it's a very, very interesting interview. A lovely lady. Alan and Ash is lovely. Hi, Patricia. Glad to see you're watching. Yes, that's a very, very sad tale about Judy, Elvis's co-star in Jailhouse Rock. She unfortunately, her and her husband died in a car crash just after Jailhouse Rock wrapped. It was an automobile accident on, I think it was July 4th weekend. Very, very sad. Elvis said he could never watch that film again because of Judy. Yeah, he couldn't watch it again. He's right. He probably had difficulty watching Loving You as well because of the got a lot of living to do sequence at the end when his mother is very clearly shown in the audience. Very, very sad. Yeah, it probably was only 2 days after filming Wrap. They were they were newly married, weren't they? But she put the honeymoon on hold to do the film, and that's very kind. Anybody that's shared the Mike Stone interview, I say thank you very much. I'll give you a thumbs up actually, just to say thanks because again, you see, it generates interest in Elvis. If we can turn new fans, younger fans onto Elvis, great, and older fans. I heard somebody saying that they'd only recently discovered Elvis and they were in their 50s. So it's just, one of those things. If we can keep his legacy alive, it's great. Yeah, I agree. It was very, very sad about Judy Tyler dying. As I was saying, I think she'd stalled her honeymoon to make Jailhouse Rock, and then they were heading off away for the honeymoon on July the 4th, and the accident happened. I think they were both killed instantly, unfortunately. You just never know. She was a lovely looking girl as well. Lovely looking girl. Yeah, the full story is actually available online if you want to look it up. It is quite sad. Then there's another story and a photograph of Elvis motorbike riding in Memphis in 1972, and the girl on the back, her name escapes me at the moment. I'm sure somebody will provide it in a minute. She died in an automobile accident shortly after the motorbike picture was taken. Greta, we're talking about anything Elvis. Kelly, sorry, I'll start that again. Kathy Self, that's her name. Yes, Kathy Self. She died not long after the picture was taken. Yeah, there's videos about it as well on YouTube. What's that about? There was no phone call to the National Enquirer. I'm not too sure about that. Number 288. If you can just tell me what you meant. David, yeah, that would have been a really, really good role for Elvis. Chauncey Gardner in Being There. That would have been a really, really good role. I just think Elvis could have sunk his teeth into so many films and characters well. You can see the potential in King Creole, Flaming Star, to a certain extent, Wild in the Country. You can see the potential. It just never had time to flourish and grow, unfortunately. Linda Thompson is such a nice lady. I actually asked Linda for an interview, and unfortunately, it hasn't come through. I'd love to speak to Linda. If there's anybody that knows Linda personally that can put a good word in for me, I'd be grateful, because I think Linda has a lot to add to the podcast channel. I know what people are saying. They have heard a lot of the stories now that's been that has been told. All stories that have already been told. But if I could maybe just get something else out of Linda, who knows? Um, yeah, but going back to Elvis's acting, not just dramatic, but he could have been a good comedy actor as well. If you can imagine him being in some of the the Pink Panther films. Yeah, can you imagine speaking to Elvis on an interview on a podcast? Would be something else. I often wonder, would Elvis have embraced things like Facebook and YouTube and stuff like that? And I think he would have done, because he was always into the technology. He was one of the first people to have a mobile phone, albeit it was one that was in a huge big suitcase and had to be plugged into the mains and so forth. Um, and then he was also the first person to get a Sony reel-to-reel video recorder, videotape recorder, camera, and video recorder. So yeah, he was into technology. So I think he would have embraced Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and all that. Can you imagine getting a like or a follow from Elvis? That would have been something else. Okay. Can we think of any other? Um, I don't know whether did he have a microwave? Did they make microwaves prior to 1977? Um, yeah, David, I said he was one of the first to have a video recorder, but I'm not sure about a microwave. Maybe he did. He was one of the first people to have a remote controlled television, because Paul McCartney says he was fascinated with the way Elvis was just pushing the buttons and changing the channels on the television. He was the first in so many ways. I'll have to look up that microwave story, because it's bugging me now. Did they have microwaves prior to 1977? Although there is a lot of comments now coming in saying he did have a microwave. Oh, right. Yeah, the curator at Graceland said he did, and he paid $6,600. Yeah, well, see, new modern technology is always more expensive. Angie shows it in the kitchen. Yeah, okay. I would have missed that. I don't watch as many of those Graceland Insider um, videos as I used to. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that he was one of the first to have a microwave. And if it still works, that's unbelievable as well. They were made to last then. He had a telephone in his car in the 50s. Yes. I suppose when we're saying Elvis had a microwave, yeah, the house had the microwave, but I can't see Elvis popping down at midnight and doing a quick microwave meal. I would say that would be Pauline, the cook, or something like that. Yeah, that's a very good point. Elvis would have said yes, probably to the interview, but Parker would have said no, unless I could pay money. And I don't actually pay money for any of my interviews because I just won't. I won't pay money. Um, I know it could lose me interviews, but it's principle. I won't pay for interviews. Now, a lot of people. This is divided. This is divided on people. Fans. Some fans say that the upstairs should be open. They want to see upstairs, and other people say no. It's his private sanctuary. But I don't see it opening anytime soon. And I really mean that. I mean, if it'll ever be opened, if it'll ever be opened, as far as I know, Lisa has a little area up there that she stays in when she stays in Memphis. Uh, that used to be her bedroom. What do I think of the song "If You Talk in Your Sleep"? That's a good song actually, and that's a Red West song as well. It's a good song. They did show Elvis's bedroom in This Is Elvis. They filmed upstairs. Yeah, you see a very, very tiny portion of the bathroom as well. When Ginger or the actress is playing Ginger knocks on the door and opens the door, you can just see, and you just get a quick glimpse of a body on the floor. But after that, there's no real film of it. You'd imagine there'd be some modern pictures leaked out, but then again, there's probably not that many people left allowed up there. Elvis used Alka-Seltzer. There's a good photograph actually of Elvis's bedroom taken mid 1970. It shows the bedroom, it shows the office, and it also shows the countertop in the bathroom. And you can see in the distance the shower as well, and you can see Alka-Seltzer. Yes. Yeah, you see, that's what I think as well. I mean, it could be quite ghoulish to go up there and see, where Elvis slept, where he spent his final moments, and also to see the bathroom floor where he was found ultimately dead. Yeah, now I've said that before, and a lot of people have said it. The health and safety and the fire regulations and all that wouldn't allow people up there, and also probably the stairway itself couldn't take the footfall of 600,000 fans per year going up and down that stairs. If they were ever to open up upstairs, they'd have to sort of put another way of getting in and out other than the main staircase. Whether they could build something up the back, metal or something like that, I don't know, but it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen in my lifetime anyway. The upstairs sequences in This Is Elvis was definitely filmed at Graceland, as the downstairs sequences were as well, when Elvis and Ginger come back into the gates at the very start. Although it is actually filmed out of sequence, the way they come in, it shows them coming in almost from the back after they go through the front door. It's wrong the way it's filmed. And the upstairs sequence is upstairs in Graceland, definitely. In fact, the camera does follow him up Graceland staircase along. He looks in on Lisa and says goodnight to her, and then he goes into his bedroom, and the door slams shut into the camera's face. But it is Graceland, yes. There's when you go up the first flight of stairs at Graceland, on your immediate left there is a doorway, and that doorway leads a staircase that leads to the kitchen. Yeah, I know there is a back way already, but they still need to sort of build some sort of metal staircase or more substantial staircase to take people upstairs. Edward, who is the lady that did the 1977 special? She worked on the 1977 special. I think I've seen an interview with her on YouTube. There's so many people I'd love who's connected with Elvis and Elvis projects that I'd like to get to talk to, but again, you see, not everybody wants to give those interviews. Annette Wolf, that's the name. Yes, Annette Wolf. I might look her up actually, David. That's a good idea. Yeah. Hi, Jeffrey Jones. No, Mike Stone didn't write Elvis and Me book. No, Elvis and Me was Priscilla, and then Me and Elvis was Charlie Hodge. There is a few people allowed upstairs, I believe, but you need a special passcode. You need special permission and everything to go up. Elvis and Not Me, more like, yeah, that's true. Okay, guys. I think we'll wrap this up for this week. If there is any new happenings or developments in the Elvis world, we can chat about those next week. And I'd like to thank you very much for joining me again and keeping me company. I'd like to thank you for watching my YouTube videos, listening to my podcasts. As I said, it is important that you subscribe and like if you are interested in my channel, and commenting as well, because I like to hear the comments, and it just helps keep Elvis's name out there and looks after his legacy and so forth. We all need a little bit of happiness in our lives, especially at this time with the virus and all the horrible things that are happening in the world. And Elvis always provides that little bit of happiness. So thanks again for watching. Keep in touch. You can contact me anytime through the YouTube channel. You can email me direct, Elvis the Ultimate Fan Channel at gmail.com, and I will try and answer and reply to any emails I get. I might not be able to do it immediately, but I will try and do that. And God willing, if he spares us for another week, hopefully I can do this again next week, and you'll join me for another Elvis live stream. So until then, TCB. And everybody, please look after themselves and stay safe.